with my webinar on textiles. This one I curated with a definite idea in mind. I wanted somebody who had a lot of authority like Dr. Deglurkar to talk about the spiritual philosophy behind the temples, to tell you that a temple is not just a brick and mortar structure, but there is a greater theme, there's a greater dream behind it. It's a way we connect ourselves to the divine. And then I wanted people to give you a brief overview of the Dravida style of architecture and Kalinga style of architecture. I would have liked a session on Nagara style of architecture also, but unfortunately we had only half a day. So, you know, as I said, a lifetime is not enough to devote yourself to the temple. So please forgive me for what I've left out. And I wanted to leave people with a positive note, which has happened with the textile webinars also. See, we talk a lot about what we had. We all know we had a very glorious past. We had a lot of beauty. We had a lot of spirituality. We had a lot of ways in which that was a part of our day-to-day life. But the point is, why cannot we reclaim it? Why cannot we reclaim our sacred spaces and once again make them a part of our day-to-day socio-cultural life? Why should we leave our temples only for the time when we go for a darshan and go inside and pray for 2 minutes and come out? Why cannot our temples be once again what they used to be, as all the speakers have said, as the institutions that patronize music, dance, performing arts, schools, lectures? Our temples were a nucleus of the socio-cultural life of the Hindu society, and we can easily reclaim it. It doesn't require a lot of effort or a lot of paperwork to the governments. How we can do it is something that somebody who is trying, somebody who's been doing it very successfully, she is the person who is best placed to talk about it. And that person is Vijayalakshmi Vijayakumar, a very, very multifaceted personality. We all know her as Vijay Akka. So Vijayalakshmi Vijayakumar, she plays a lot of roles. She's a Bharatanatyam dancer. She's a trained pilot. She's the director of Center of Soft Power. She's the founder secretary of Heritage, a not-for-profit trust based in Bangalore. Heritage Trust conducts 2 annual well-known festivals in Bangalore, Gudiya Sambrama and Srishti Sambrama, the Earth Mother Festival. Recently, she started a 3rd festival that was started in 2018, and it was a Heritage Drive. It was a 1,100-kilometer motorsport rally that took participants in a nice little treasure trail of heritage temples. She loves storytelling, and she has been in the thick of this movement to reclaim our spaces, to reclaim our sacred spaces, and make temples once again a part of our everyday life. Over to you, Vijay.
Namaskar. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Thank you very much, Indic Academy and Shefali for inviting me. To share my thoughts on just, Ramapriya Seva or the Anil Seva that we have done. I am in no position to say I have saved anything. When you say Sanatana spaces, to me, it means not only the sacred temples, but it also means the ashrams, the matas, our forests, our trees, our goshalas, the elephants, their stables, and truly all creation. And what are we saving it from, and who are we saving it from, and why? These are the questions that come to my mind. Personally, I think that we have to redeem these sacred spaces from ourselves, our malaise and our attitudes. We can no longer blame 1,000 years of invasion, colonization, etc., which is, very normal in our conversations. I think it's high time we start taking responsibility, and each person who calls themselves an Indian, a resident of Bharata, or whose ancestry originated from this soil, or even one who has benefited from knowledge or any tradition from this soil, has to share in caring and nurturing this ancient heritage and culture and her sacred spaces. It does not matter what system of worship you follow, whether the person is a theist, an atheist, a ritualist, an intellectual, an academician. If we are human and we have any connection of any sort to this land or her culture, it is, I think, our responsibility to uphold her sacred spaces and to protect her heritage and culture, for their origin is buried in this hoary antiquity, and this knowledge and the richness that it is embedded is priceless to the welfare of not just our country, but of humanity. Spiritual, not religious. I guess this has to change. I find this dialogue is becoming more and more common with people who especially term themselves educated, intellectual, and I mean, this is a certain brand of people. I very often, when we have the festival, I hear people say, oh, it's been 25 years since I stepped into the temple. And then I'm thinking, hello, you belong to this land and this is your sacred space and you should be here. And you should actually be doing something to take care of it. Anyway, so that dialogue has to change. Now, I remember when I was young, my mother telling me once, she said, there are a lot of tradition and there's a lot of culture in our country. See, she was just a school graduate, but she educated herself, reading, listening to lectures, going to Swamiji's, doing a lot. She said there is a lot of tradition, lot of rituals, a lot of little pujas, etc. that are happening. She said, none of these are harmful. She said, you have to think and get the answers yourself as to why it's being done. Because I hear a lot of things, oh, what is the significance of this? I don't know. Because we are becoming a non-thinking society. I think we really need to start thinking. Because the moment we start thinking, instead of just throwing the baby out with the bathwater, the answers will come to us.
Viju Didi, I'm not seeing anything on the screen. Have you not shared your screen or video?
I will share it when it's needed, Shefali. Thank you.
Okay, but right now you don't want to see, because right now I'm seeing just a black screen. So you don't want to share your video as well?
Are you seeing me or not?
No, I'm not.
I don't know. Why is that?
We are seeing her, Shefali ji, we are seeing her.
Oh, you are seeing her? Okay, fine. In that case, there must be some problem from my end. Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
Okay.
Please.
So where was I? So anyway, so she said that, we should analyze. So it is, all this is within us. So it's just a matter of analyzing. And if we analyze, we'll know that a visit to a temple is quite significant. If not for anything else, just look at the beauty of the temple. And when you look at beauty, it's actually connecting to the inner being in us. When Krishna says in the 10th chapter that I am beauty of the beautiful. So there is so much in our culture and heritage that we just need to take a couple of minutes and think about it before we disregard it, or the whole thing about, Bhakti Marga, and we are all Jnana Marga kind of things. I don't want to go into that. But these are all things that we have to think about, because it's the people who are supposedly intellectual who have to start thinking about how we actually have to redeem ourselves by nurturing our temples. So now can I have the first slide, please? And I have to tell you one thing. Avayar, who was a great seer, she said, Koil illa uril kudi irkade, which means do not live in a town where there is no temple. Do you think she was a mere ritualist who said that? She had great knowledge and understanding. So now let's just look. I have to go through this slide. Because even though I know people have spoken about it, people need to know why we started with Gudiya Sambrama. So the temple was the center of life in the community before. And when I said center of life, it meant that all life revolved around the temple. So that meant that our lives were centered around a dharmic place. So it was the home to learning. There were pathashalas, there were vidvat sadhas, there was visual arts and fine arts, literature, architecture, temple sciences. And then they would also stage night-long performances in temples, which were revolved around the stories of God. So this is how it passed on to the next generation. And then, of course, there are still one or two temples that still have, in Karnataka, where even judicial arguments are settled in the temple. Because once you agree to what they say, then you have to do it. And then, of course, what has happened now, and then the role of the temple was very important because they supported Goshalas. There were Nandanavanas, which had trees that were worshipped. and they were nurtured, and they were all trees that belong to that specific area. So if you look at the Sthala Vriksha of each tree in a different area, it will be a different tree. It will not be the same. And then, of course, the Kalyanis conserved water. And it was amazing. A couple of years back, one of the themes of our festival was sacred animals. And we noticed that 17 of the sanctuaries, fish sanctuaries in Karnataka, are either maintained by temples or by ashrams. In fact, the Sringeri Mutt has a 4-kilometer long fish sanctuary that it maintains on the Tungabhadra River, where there are many fish that are going extinct. And then, of course, it has facilities for pilgrims. I mean, the slide is there. I don't think I need to talk about that. But what has happened to temples now? Temples now have become places where only the ritual aspect of our dharma takes place. Very few have Veda Patashalas. Very few have Goshalas. There's no arable land left to help the temple. There's no support for music, dance, literary works, or art. And there are no longer the rules that were laid down for the maintenance of even the animals of the temple are no longer followed. So whether it's the cattle or the elephants or the horses that belong to a temple, no longer are we following it. So when we started looking at all these aspects, we started thinking, when I say we had a trust that we registered in 1994 when we first started with doing workshops for children, and then we moved on, since the three of us who are in the working committee, we moved on to doing workshops for performing artists. And then, once we had a lot of discussion about temples and the situation of temples, etc., it was more complaining than, anything positive. Finally, I said, I think we are falling into the category of armchair activists. Or today, sometimes there are many who are internet activists. I said, we have to do something in the real world. And so we said, okay, so what is it we should do? It was quite difficult to think of something to do where we could actually bring people to come to the temples who are not the ones who are the regular, 2-minute people who ran in there to, just kind of have this good relationship saying, Bhagwan, I've come, give me this, or whatever the relationship is. It is that they have. So we said, okay, let us, since we were all also artists, and I believe that art brings art, and we thought this is the way that people will come very easily. So we said, okay, let's do a temple festival. And, we are in the habit of, making all these plans and, on paper, and not really worrying about how we'll get funded, how we are actually doing it. But somehow, with Ishwara's grace, we have managed it for 12 years now. So we said, okay, let us do this temple festival. We said, let us celebrate, because otherwise, we all know all the negative aspects of everything. I said, let's make it a celebration. So we said, okay, let's call it Gudiya Sambrama, because we are in Karnataka. Gudi means temple. Sambrama, of course, everybody knows. And so we said, let's do, and I said, okay, there are some temples where, the government runs these dance festivals, where, there's actually no connection between the temple and the performance, because it's just that the venue is used for this performance. So we said, okay, let us set ourselves apart. We have to do something different. So we said, okay, let us make our festival thematic. When we say thematic, we do not ask the artist to perform on that theme, because that is confining to an artist. But we do request them and tell them that this is the theme, so it would be great if you could do something that is related to the theme. So we said, okay, and we said we have to do temples that are at least 300 years old. So all those come under the control of the Mujrai department, which fortunately has been renamed to Hindu Dharma Datti Ilake. So we said, okay, and we went, and it's a big process to get permissions. Though Shefali said it's very easy, it's really not easy. The whole journey has been, very often it has been that, okay, this is it, we can't do it anymore. But somehow it has gone on. They call it Prasuti Vairagyam or Smashana Vairagyam, and we say we won't do it and then just start again. And so we started, and we made it thematic. So the themes that we take are also what I consider very sacred to us. We've done sacred trees, we have done sacred animals, sacred mountains, sacred water, sacred sounds. And then we've done the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. When I say we take a theme, we do a lot of research and we put out posters on the theme. So we have, for example, when our whole programs in an urban setting, and we hardly even know our trees. So we actually even bring saplings and place it there. And we put details of the sapling, we put the cultural significance. We also have a religious significance. When I say sacred trees, it doesn't mean only a few. It means everything is sacred to us, but we can't bring all the trees there. So we at least put out only trees that are native to India. And then we put out material. So we actually research and then we put out what is simple enough for anybody in the temples to read. When the first time we put it out, I was thinking, oh God, we have spent so much time, energy, effort, and funding on this. Are people going to actually look at it? But I was amazed that there were people who are actually reading, taking photographs. And over the years, people have been asking us, could you make a book of this? I hope, at some point we can. And then we have two sections to our festival. We have the whole festival is curated. See, this is another problem in India. Our performing arts in many places are not curated. So the casual dancer who does this for a hobby, dances one day in the week, and the committed artist who is a professional who is dancing or practicing for 8 to 10 hours a day, they both get slotted in the same space. So we said we shouldn't do that. So we have different categories that we have. We have the invited artists where we bring some who are famous because we need to build the audience. And then we also have the applicant artists, and anybody who applies, we definitely give them a theme, the theme of our festival. We expect them to write a 500-word essay on that. If they don't write it, we don't even look at their application. Then we have a group who looks at all the videos. We tell them we don't need anything except your video because we need to see what you do. And so we are pretty strict at bringing good art. And what is nice is the audience is a cross section of society of all age groups from all different backgrounds also, right? From the flower seller to the person who looks after your shoes, to the connoisseur of art, to the temple goer, to the simple bhakta, everybody is there in the audience. And what is most wonderful is the small children. Because now in sabhas, you no longer see small children. Here now you see little children are also there. And then we also have what is called a Nritya Kainkaryam. That is a very special thing that is done within the temple. See, we erect a main stage. So we normally do around 5 to 9 weekends. And so it will be the number of weekends will be normally the number of main stages. But if there are, like in our area in Baswangudi, there are about 8 temples in this area. So we have performances within all these temples before we start on the main stage. So that becomes that many more involvement of that many more artists, that many more people, because we want this to be a movement. And when we have the theme, we also look at who we should call to inaugurate. Like we had one called Sacred Flowers. And we invited those vendors who have been supplying flowers to the temple to come and inaugurate it. And it was such a touching thing when, they were speaking of how for 30 years they've been making the flowers for these temples. And, I was actually watching once, and that's when I thought of this, because I was watching in a temple after an Abhisheka when the flower vendor, the one who supplies the flower, was standing outside and telling the Vadyar Mama, no, that one is meant for this, for the Devi. And when he put it on the Devi, it was the exact measurement. He didn't have to make an adjustment. He didn't have to cut. I was amazed at that. And then I spoke to the flower vendor. He said that he had been supplying for 30 years. And then his father, it was like a parampara that had come down. And for them, it was the service of it and that bond with the temple more than anything else. So for that whole festival, every temple we had them come and inaugurate, in each of the temple, whoever supplied the flowers. So they were absolutely thrilled about it. So when we did, and now, we have also started having small talks on the theme. So when we did water, we had a scientist come and speak from Indian Institute of Science about the role of water in our society and the role of water in lives. So I think now we'll play a small video. Why I'm playing this video, I see I was requested that I should bring photographs, but I was just looking, it's 12 years and they wanted it year by year. That's talking 500 photographs. And I said, I really can't sift through 500 photographs. Even if I take one picture from each day, that would have come to this. So I'm going to play a video. In case you find it's too long, we'll just stop it and I'll continue to speak. So we'll just play a video now. I'm sorry, it's just taking a minute. Just 1 second.
परामृतात् परिमुच्यन्ते सर्वे दह्रं विपापं परमेश्वभूतं यत्पुण्डरीकं पुरमध्यसग्रस्तम्.
Heritage is a not-for-profit, non-government organization that was registered in the year 1994. Our organization is all about the preservation, dissemination of our heritage and culture, which includes our natural heritage and our cultural heritage. We started this festival, Gudiya Sambrama, in October 2010 and started with the whole big festival in the January of 2011, and now every year it runs from the end of January to the first week of March, every weekend across Bangalore in 8 to 9 venues and about 21 to 22 temples. We have a section for artists who are upcoming but for whom this is a profession, artists that apply, and then we have artists who we invite for the performance.
I was quite thrilled and I had a very good darshan, and the ambience is great here and I really enjoyed performing, especially in Bangalore because it's so much of culture and people are so educated about the music.
An amazing sound system, beautiful lights, and this very amazing natural setting was one of the best things that has happened to us in recent times. The way it's organized, the way the whole thing is put together, and people's interest and the venues they have selected for this wonderful festival, really praiseworthy. I mean, any amount of words is going to fall short.
Selecting the theme Ganga was very unique because not many compositions are there on Ganga and Gangadishwaran.
I heard of Gudiya Sambrama festival before, but this is really a great opportunity for me that I've been invited this year, 2015, by Vijay Lakshmi ji, and it's really a great honor for me to be here and such an auspicious stage. The audience was so cool and they were so energetic that I received their energy and I could perform, and I'm really happy that everyone liked my performance and hope to be in Bangalore once again next time.
Here, in fact, we have a scientist who's been here from the Indian Institute of Science come and speak about water in every one of our venues on one day. He's like, this year we have a Kalyani because our theme is water. Kalyani is a temple tank.
It's one of the best ventures that's happening in the country to promote or to rather, inform youngsters about our culture.
For us as artists, it's a great experience to perform in this kind of a divine setting.
Great way to connect the architecture and architectural heritage with cultural, with the dance and the music. So it's a great thing that this festival is happening in Bangalore, and people are in large numbers coming to watch. Other classical dances were housed originally in the temples, and it's a great feeling to be performing in these festivals.
It creates a completely different kind of energy. For us, we have found that it's very exciting to be performing for people who may not actually normally come to you and to see you perform in an auditorium. So I think it's a wonderful idea.
Different backgrounds, men, women, children, educated, uneducated, the flower vendor, the lady who takes care of your footwear in the temple, all of them enjoying what is going on.
5 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಆ ಮಗು. ನಾನು ಶಿವನ ಬಗೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಡ್ಯಾನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, ತುಂಬ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಯಿತು ನನಗೆ.
I've been performing in this Gudiya Sambrama festival since it started, I think. We need to see that our tradition is kept intact, and in this regard, this Gudiya Sambrama office bearers are doing a great job, not only doing the festival, and it has been giving encouragement and good opportunities to young artists. And also senior artists are coming and performing. The way they conduct the festival, very systematic, the stage, the sound, the light, everything is very good. I hope this Gudiya Sambrama will spread all over Karnataka, and it makes a big name in coming years.
Bangalore, as it is very rich in culture, so it's always a pleasure to perform in Bangalore, because the crowd, they are very well known about music and classical art forms, so you really need to prepare yourself well. Ambience is very good. What could be more auspicious than performing in a temple? So the feeling was very good, the energy was very good off the stage.
Today we are so glad to be a part of this festival because it's a temple festival. We will talk about 2 incarnations of Lord Vishnu. One is Krishna and one is Narasimha.
People who came for this festival were very young kids, young children, and their mothers, who were mostly homemakers, and there were teachers, and there were working professionals, who work in corporate companies, and then there were senior citizens who were so fond of music and dance.
நினைத்தாய் நீ வேண்டியதெல்லாம் தருவோம் பல்லாரும் காணாமே
forget all their worries, all their problems. They're just here. They're just enjoying the present. I mean, that's what I can say.
ಸಂಗೀತ್ ನಾಟಕ್ ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿ ಯುವ ಪುರಸ್ಕಾರ್ ಇದು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿ ಗಳಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಪ್ರಶಾಂತ್ ಶಾ ಇವರು ತಮ್ಮ ಕಥಕ್ ನೃತ್ಯಕ್ಕಾಗಿ.
And these little kids, I think they were the main motivation factor for me. I think we should clap for them. They are so, I would say, receptive. I was so happy to have them in the audience.
What we really get from the government, they are trying, but what we get from them is hardly anything. It probably covers just one venue out of the 9 venues. And so funding is a huge, huge challenge for
In every temple, before we start on the main stage, we have one performance within the temple, which we call the Sangeeta Nritya Kainkaryam. Dancers just love it. And in Koramangala, the Lashwa space and the Radha Kalpa Dance Company did a beautiful thing where they brought their littlest ones, who are between 5 and 7, to come and chant slokas within the temple. And then of course they did their little offering of a small dance sloka, Angikam Bhuvanam Yasya, and it was such a joy to see these beautiful little children in these heritage spaces dressed up in the most wonderful traditional manner. On one of the days we definitely have traditional games, and it's such a wonderful thing to see all these little children and their grandmothers sitting together and playing. The program runs in several temples across Bangalore. We have tried to choose temples that are over 300 years old, but in some areas of course we don't have that kind of old heritage space. Our whole festival is a coming together of heritage, culture, nature, all in sacred spaces. In this day and age, I think we need the silence of the temples, because art does bring that silent space within you, even though it's from outside. It somewhere brings that silence within you.
I think this has kind of summed up everything that we have done. And so I'll just move next to everybody. Okay, there are a couple of, you can just keep seeing the slides. See, what we actually try is to bring various forms of art, and we bring them from across the country. We had one group that came from an ashram in Majuli who performed Satariya. It was just amazing to see the dedication with which they had the art. And like I said, just put the next slide, please. Yeah, so we have this, we have traditional way of planting the trees in all the temples. Of course, now in the 12 years that we've done it, there's no place to plant trees anymore. So wherever we can, we plant, but we always bring saplings. And we have posters that we put out. I told you about the posters. And we try to go to the last bit of detail where we even dress up the planters that we keep with the colors that are related to whoever the god is that is related to that plant. And so, it adds for the experience of the people there. Next slide, please. So we have made it a point that, at least on one day of the festival, mostly we do it on the Sunday in the afternoon, we have them bring traditional Indian games, and it's wonderful to see children, grandparents, everybody sitting there and enjoying the traditional board games, because there is a lot of value systems that are there in the traditional board games also. Next slide, please. So we try to involve the community in whatever way we can. So this past year, we had all of them coming and painting the Rangoli in the temples. And then we light a lot of lamps. Of course, the Vadyar Mamas are always involved. And in one of the temples, we had all the Vahanas painted. Next slide, please. So this past year, we thought that, okay, now that we have done the performing arts, we thought we should bring in the art also into the temple. Because I noticed that in many galleries, the traditional art gets left out. So we created an art gallery in the temple. We have tried to keep whatever we do to the best of our ability to be done in a very professional manner. So we brought, we had somebody come and put up, the gallery type boards with lights on every painting. And it was amazing. At first I was wondering, how are we going to manage? To get this many paintings. But after that, I found that we had to tell people, we are sorry, this is as much as we can do. So we said, when it's in a temple, we have to do something different. So we requested the temple, we brought out all the Vahanas, and we put the pictures, we mounted some of the paintings on the Vahanas. So, it gives that difference to having it in a temple versus somewhere else. So now all these painters have told us, please let us know the theme next year, so we'll start painting right away. So this will definitely be a part of our, program also. Can we have that video? This is just a one, no, not this, the video. So that was really short. Anyway, so now, and then we started thinking about, how to bring different kinds of people into this whole, next slide. How to bring different people from different backgrounds. And many people ask us, oh, why don't you do these programs in temples out of Bangalore? But it's quite difficult to do that, considering that we are 3 people running this whole event. And funding is a big issue, because what happens is, the moment it's in a temple, and we are very particular that we will not advertise anybody's product. So we tell them that you belong to this society, this is a community, and this is what you have to give towards this. So we will not advertise anybody. So then, immediately it all drops. And then the moment it's a temple, there are people who won't want to give to a temple. And so the people who give to a temple will give if we are creating a Prabhavali where, their names are etched on it, or, sometimes I find tube lights with people, donors' names there, while we are supposed to go to a temple to lose that I-ness. Anyway, so that's besides the point. So we said, okay, what happened was, the youngest member of our team, we are 3 of the people who actually work, she said, oh, let's do something fun, because even my daughter sometimes complains. She says, get a life, Amma, you don't even do anything fun. I said, this is fun for me. So she said, there's a drive, there's a rally, shall we go? And the 2 of us said, okay. And once we started on the rally was fun. So I said, why are we on this rally? There must be a reason for this. And then the idea came. We said, let's do a heritage drive. So what we do now is, we bring motorsports. This is serious motorsport, nothing to do with speed, but it has everything to do with the skill of driving, the skill of navigating, and maintaining your speeds. We said, let's do motorsports, and the destinations are all heritage temples. And then we said, let's do tree planting everywhere. So we do 2 rallies. One is in September, which is a long rally of 1,100 kilometers. And the first trip was to Hampi. And the whole experience was amazing for us also because it was the first time. And as organizers, we had to reach before anybody reached. So, well, I do like driving. So I was driving at 140, 150 kilometers, as much as my car could take, because we had to reach, we had to be the last and we had to be the first. So we'd have to wait for 45 cars to get flagged off before we reached. So we do it twice in the year. At first we had said only once, but then of course, you know, it's, I don't know whether it's self-flagellation or it's just this crazy involvement with our heritage that drives us to do things, you know, constantly. So we've made it 2 drives. One we do in February, which is a 1-day drive. And that is a part of our Gudiya Sambrama. So even when we visit the temple, we have performances in the temple. So you can see we had a dance performance. And the other one is a 3-day one where we included with our Srishti Sambrama, but in both the drives, we plant trees wherever we can. I remember in one of the temples, we had to pay 50,000 to ASI for us to bring 25,000 worth saplings to plant and to have a performance outside the temple with no stage erected, nothing. But that's besides the point. You know, we have all these archaic laws. And I mean, that's a whole different topic. And so each time we try to do something different. So even when we have the 3-day drive, in the night we have a performance. And then we always have a briefing day. On the briefing day, we call one of the, either a sculptor or a temple architect or a historian to come and speak about the places that we're visiting so they have knowledge ahead of time. And then we make a WhatsApp group of all the participants. So we keep posting different material on the temples. And then the first drive, we didn't do it. From the second drive on, we also give a daily quiz. So it's not only the skill of driving, navigating, calculating, they also have to answer this quiz. And we put up a quiz, and if they do not answer the quiz, they can't register. So the quiz is there before the registration. I tell them it doesn't matter if you go to Google Acharya, but at least get to know this much. So the questions are not just about the temples, but it's generally about, you know, our heritage and culture and the temples too. So the drive has been really nice. We at least get a minimum of 25 cars. It goes up to 50. Managing 50 is quite a job. And we have a technical team who are people who have been 7 times national winners, and they conduct international rallies, etc. So we try not to compromise on anything except that we do not get a whole lot of time in the temples. So we are still trying to see how we can do everything and still manage it. So we were planning this year, but I guess, you know, Ishvara has different reasons for not doing it this year. But when we do it next year, we'll do it such that, you know, there's a whole day left just to enjoy and savor the temples. But I think this is like a small little card, you know, a small little inspiration. So I know several of the people who came on the drives have gone back to these destinations to look at the temples. Excuse me, sorry. We have a temple architect also travel with us. And this last 1 day, and of course we plant trees everywhere. This last 1-day rally, we also visited a Goshala. So we try to give them a complete experience of everything that happens in our heritage and culture. And we make a request that everybody wears only hand-woven fabric. And then we give a small little write-up about the hand-woven fabric of that area. So we try to make it as holistic as possible, even though that word is a kind of an archaic, much bandied word. We try to bring every aspect of our culture into it. And our food is all sattvic. We do not have anything that is not sattvic. Of course, there's no smoking and no drinking. And I'm watching like a hawk because 1 or 2 drivers the last time pulled out a cigarette and I just made them put the whole pack into the dustbin right in front of me. So I said, environmentally and, you know, mentally, let's all concentrate on what we're doing. So we also have a small yoga session in the morning so that they're stress free when they drive. And I guess that's, go to the next slide, please. So now coming to the awards for the drive, and even the mementos for our Gudiya Sambrama. We definitely give everybody a small little plant, and it's really nice that many of the artists send us photographs when their plants have grown, and we go to the last tee. Every one of the mementos that we give are made by artists, and they are commissioned. So we have one young bronze artist called Yatin, who's very cooperative. So each time, depending on the temple that we are going, see, the last time it was a Ramayana theme, so we had Anjaneya. We had visited a Shiva temple, so we had the Nandi, and even these, the fabric, these plates have a medley of fabrics, which are all handmade fabrics. And then we give a medal to everybody, which is also, sometimes it's terracotta mix. We have a mascot that we give every time. So each time the mascot is different. We have a write-up on the mascot. Of course, our mascot for the entire tribe is Garuda. So we have a whole write-up on Garuda, so that people know exactly the significance of Garuda. Go to the next slide. And I think I have said a lot about, I have one more video that I'd like to share, the Veda Parayanaman. And what we do when we have Gudiya Sambrama also is, at every venue, we try to call one of the Matadipatis to come for the program, the Vedanada. So when we had Sacred Sound as our theme, we had a Vedanada, we had a whole group of Vedic people who came and chant. It was just amazing. What they did was just beautiful. And we had the Hariharapura Swami Matadipati. Where people said he'll come only for 10 minutes, but he stayed for the 2 hours. And I'd like to share, it's just a 1 minute video. Is it working? Not working?
श्री महागणपतिं भजेऽहम्
विरागता किल विभो तान् भोः समाकर्ण्यता अलंकार किन्नकिं पुररुद्रवीणा मुखवीणा वागवीणा तुम्बुरवीणा गांधर्वना रावण हस्तवीणा सप्तक्रियालंकृयालयकृतवाद्य वापी गोपतटानादि गंगा जमुना वरुणा शोणनदे सुवर्णमते वेगपते वेत्रपते क्षेत्रपते बाहुनदे प्रमुखा भैरवेश्वर आनंद भैरवी षण्मुख स्वादरा षण्मुख प्रिया
So what we did there was, we even had a painter paint all the Veda Purushas. Each Veda has a different Veda Purusha. So we had them paint the Veda Purushas for the background. And then we had every Veda has a certain raga that's to be played. So we had the Vedic Pandits also explain on that. And the last time we had to involve children also, we had what was called Balakala Leela. We had about 10 or 15 children's troops, and it was amazing to see the amount of practice and precision with which these children performed. It was just, it's an unbelievable experience, and it's a great learning journey for us. Now I would like to say a few words. Take me to the last slide, please. When we say we want to reclaim the temple for the future generations, unless we reclaim them into our culture, having these sacred spaces is not going to have much meaning. Well, you gave me 45 minutes. I think I still have 9 minutes. I know I'm eating into all your lunchtime. I hope you're not all leaving because it's becoming too long, but I'm really sorry. Actually, there's so much more to share, but I'm just kind of cutting everything short. So for a start, I think we should visit temples with children. We have to create a relationship for them within the temple. And, our intellectuals have to know that bhakti is not backward, actually. And spirituality and religion are not separate. Every ritual has a meaning. We just have to think about it. It's like even tying the mango leaves across the door. Why do we do it? Has anybody thought? There was an environmentalist who had thought about it, and they had done some research. There's another Vedic botanist who has done research. In fact, he says that when on a festival day, when people walk into your house, there's a lot of people that come in, the air gets purified because they come through the mango leaves. And, like this, there is so much that, we have to explain some of it, because actually, if you think about it, the answers will come to you. But since we are a non-thinking society, we have to talk about it. We have to share this with the children. It really makes me very sad when people are talking about idols. We are not idol worshippers, because idol worshipping is idle, IDLE. We worship murtis, where those are manifestations. They are not symbols of God. Those are manifestations of the Supreme Being. Because for us, God is everywhere, in everything. And, these are things that we have to talk about to our next generations. Because otherwise, this whole concept of, being traditional is backward. Or, the standard question that's asked to me is, oh, are you RSS? I said, well, if you want to think of me as RSS, go ahead, think of me as whatever you want. But we have to think very deeply about what we have, because what we have is simply amazing. The more I look at it, the more there is to learn. And if we don't visit temples, why is that going to survive? Every person has a duty to visit the temple. You go, if you don't feel that you have to go and stand there and pray, it doesn't matter. Look at the beauty in the temple. But visit the temple. Make it a place that is live. I've had people coming and telling me, oh, I have not come to a temple for 25 years, but I came because of the music program. I said, well, I hope this is, the first time after 25 years is going to be one of many times more. It doesn't matter whether the music is there or not. It's filled with this vibration. Just feel it. Sit down. Enjoy the situation. Unless the next generation is rooted, for whom are we going to reclaim these spaces? So it's not just our conducting these programs, but all this change has to happen with every one of us. And I think I've covered quite a bit. We actually had one more video, but all our videos are online. If you say the Heritage Drive, you'll find the videos. We've been featured in every one of the Autotrack magazines, which we was quite surprised. We thought that if we say we are going to temple destinations that, the fast moving, the now generation won't want it. But without fail, even if we don't approach them, They come, they take whatever information they get. We've been featured on the outer covers of the Auto Track magazines. So this is the long and short. I know there are many more things that we do, but we really don't have the time. It should have been a half day given to us, and I'll guarantee you won't have been bored. And in fact, we had one program in the temple where we made it an immersive program where the audience was a part of the performance. Maybe we should just play that and end with that. Okay, one second, before you play that. Okay, so this is what we want. We want that the devotees become responsible. Everybody, it's not difficult in that, if everybody tries to do something, you can just go to the temple, sit down and say you'll teach something and people will come. You can help with maintaining the little garden that they have. You can, and I would like to say that since we started, now there are many temples where many organizations have started having dance and music performances. See, this is a double way of doing this. Even for the artist, it's a reminder that practically every activity, like Swami Dayananda Saraswati will say, there is no aspect of life that is not divinity centered. And there was one of his talks that I was listening to, and he was making a very light-hearted and lighter way, and he was saying, he says that, every turn there is a woman in your life. He said, you want to read a book? That's Saraswati. You want to earn money? There comes Lakshmi. Then you want some strength, and there is Durga. So, every activity that we have, he says, even if you stand in front of the mirror and you're dressing up, it's Alankara. You are dressing up where the Atman is housed. So if we start thinking about that, everything we do is divinity centered. So the other thing that people can do is maintain this database of devotees in the temple. Most of the temples have computers, but they don't have people who can do that. And preserve and nurture temple property. I see so many people coming, they take the prasadam and they just dump it there. I mean, why not we be a little more sensitive to it? And you could create a lot of, innovative, immersive activities. So I hope all the audience here will be people who will come. And, somebody told me, why don't you have volunteers? I said, we are constantly asking people to help us out. But, when it comes to the last minute, I find that it's 3 of us. And, well, God has given us, and Ishvara has given us his grace and blessings to run it. But I would really be happy if people, see, if you look at our website, it needs updating. I don't have anybody to do that. And I'm looking for people who are passionate about it. I mean, we could pay somebody to do this, but I don't want to do that. I want people to work from their hearts for it. So having said that, we'll end with this immersive program that we tried in the temple. Of course, the budget for that is like mind-blowing, but we said we have to try it once. So we'll just look at that and we'll stop.
Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmase Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Varishyami.
the next me.
This was because, you know, we had the audience within the performance space, and so I guess there's a whole beautiful video on the drive, but I guess we don't have the time to watch that. So I'm really sorry that I've eaten into your lunchtime, and I once again thank Indik and Shefali and all the viewers for being there. And if you have any questions, you can always just email me on gudiya.sambrama@gmail.com, and if you do want to start this festival in your place, we'll certainly help you. I have spoken to people in Orissa to do this. I hope our Ashutosh Mohanty can do something about that. So namaskar and thank you very much.
Thank you, Akka. Thank you very much. And I'm glad you made that offer to help other towns and cities to give your expertise and consultancy. I'm very pleased to announce to all the viewers that Indik Academy would be happy to give a grant of 1 lakh for any person who wants to do something like Gudiya Sambrama anywhere in India. So please do write to us and at hari@indica.org.in or namaste@indica.org.in and send us a proposal, and we would be happy to give a seed grant for you to get cracking. I also want to announce that for people who are inspired by Bharat and Ashutosh's and Gurpreet's presentation, to please work on coffee table books about your local temples, and we would be happy to publish them. In fact, next year we are publishing Shefali's coffee table book on textiles also. So we are also publishing Rukmini Vijay Kumar's book on her dances on Shivaratri. So we were very glad to publish these books because these do make a difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hariji, for that wonderful and very, very optimistic announcement that fills us all with hope. Thank you, Vijayakka, for a wonderful presentation. And this is exactly how I wanted to end this presentation. We started off on a high note about the connection between spirituality and temples, and how our temples are an extension of us, of the Purusha and Prakriti within us. And then people talked about different kinds of temple architectural styles, and we ended up with this hopeful note about how we can reclaim our temples. I would like to reiterate the question that Vijay Didi has written in her presentation and leave you with that question, which is a very important question, and I think we all need to think about it. Unless the next generation is rooted, for whom do we have to reclaim the temple spaces? We absolutely have to ensure that what we have, and it's a tremendous legacy, it's a legacy that is very fulfilling. It makes you a better person, it makes you a better human being, it makes you a better global citizen to understand your own traditions and to understand the thought behind temple architecture. So please let us get involved. I would like to thank Indic Academy for giving me this opportunity to curate this webinar. 1,500 people registered for this, which is huge for a webinar when you know that there are interesting talks going on everywhere, like 5 times a day. But 1,000 people registered for it. When we started, there were some 400 participants and more than half of them stayed, even though the webinar is for 4 hours continuous speakers. And it was very, even though it was very interesting, there was a lot of information. And people these days say that your attention span is very limited. But today's participants have shown that, excuse me, if the subject matter is important, then people stay, because there is so much that we have to understand about ourselves, about our past, about our heritage, and about our temples. To end with, again, because I am an optimistic person, I would like to leave you with a mantra about what we can do to take this moment forward. Hariji has already made a very generous announcement that if anybody wants to take up the honors of starting a festival like this in their neighborhood temples, in their city's temples, then Indic Academy would be happy to support it financially. We'll all be there to support it in whatever way we can. But I leave you with a mantra. I am a mother of 14-year-old high schoolers, and when they study, I realize that how much mnemonics are important. So here is a mnemonic for you to take home. It's a very simple mnemonic. It's called Hindu, #Hindu, HINDU. So what does HINDU stand for? H is help. As Vijay Didi said, and as everyone keeps saying, help your local temple. You just pick one day or a fixed time in a week, but offer your services to the temple. It can be anything. It can be as simple as keeping the temple clean. It can be simple thing as telling stories to the children who come there. Something, but volunteer your time. Help your local temple. Help your local spiritual ecosystem. Interrogate. Ask, talk to the people, talk to the pujaris of the temple, find out about the Sthala Purana, know more about the history of the temple, talk to the elders in the area. Maybe they have some interesting insights. Usually oral history is not recorded, but we come to know so many interesting insights just by talking to people. So always question, always ask for stories, narrate and nurture. Once you understand the stories, once you read a little bit more about it, once you know a little bit more about the temple, don't keep that knowledge to yourself. Narrate that story to other people who come to the temple, maybe write about it, maybe blog about it. Share that knowledge so that other people can also get interested in it. And nurture this, what we have. We have lost quite a significant amount of it, but let us not lose any further. Let's nurture our temples, let's nurture our heritage, let's nurture our past. D is for document. As I said again, these days it's easy to document. All you need is a good phone, a good camera, and a good Wi-Fi system. Make small videos, just record everything, record interesting rituals in the temple. Every temple will have its unique festival. Why was this festival formed? Does it have any meaning? What is the underlying symbolism behind it? Talk to the pujaris, talk to the elders in the area, but document it. Make these tiny little movies and put them on the internet. So what if initially nobody sees it or nobody reads them? What is important is for you to be consistent and to build upon this body of knowledge, so that for 1 year you kept documenting just one temple in your neighborhood. After 1 year, you will see that you've got significant amount of material to come up something, come up with something significant, either a movie or a book or a series of blogs or documentaries, anything. But you need to start, and we all need to be consistent about it. The last is the U. The U in Hindu is to understand. We can do all this only if we understand. And by that, I don't mean read. I don't mean acquire information. I mean truly understand. Know about our rituals. Know about our temples. Understand the meaning behind it. Understand the meaning of rituals. As Vijay Didi said in her presentation, the rituals are not meaningless. There's a lot of meaning. There's a lot of thought put behind it. Nothing in our culture, nothing in our dharma is actually meaningless. There is always something that goes beyond the obvious. There are layers to it. So understand those layers, read up about our own history, read up about our own culture. And if we can just do this, if we just be Hindu, HINDU, and we do it consistently, I think all of us will make a lot of difference. please remember, and this is something that we need to remember 24/7. No matter, I've been seeing people's comments of this, of the participants, and it's been very, very interesting. Somebody is logged in from Jammu and Kashmir, somebody from Tamil Nadu, somebody from Bihar, somebody from Bengal. We are all parts of the same whole, the same idea, the same Sanatana Dharma. Let us celebrate it. Let us understand our culture. Let us celebrate it and make sure that our temples are there for our future generations to understand, to once again form our socio-cultural life around it. Once again, a huge thank you to all the speakers, to Dr. Deglurkar sir for taking time out from his busy schedule to do this for me just based on one request. Thank you to Bharat and Gurpreet for that amazingly beautiful visual presentation. Thank you, Ashutosh, for throwing light on a subject that is not that mainstream yet, that is Kalinga architecture. And I think there is so much more, as you very rightly said. Unfortunately, in a 4-hour seminar, it's not possible to do justice to all the subjects and speakers. And thank you to Vijay Didi for leaving us with a note of hope, for showing within our actions how we can reclaim our temples, how we can save our sacred, and how we can make temples once again the nucleus of our socio-cultural lives. And once again, a huge thank you to Harikiran ji, my mentor, somebody I look up to, and somebody who has ensured that I work on a project that's bigger than me. And I'm just grateful for all the participants for having given 4 hours of your life for this. All the lectures will be recorded and will be shared on the YouTube channel of Indic Academy. So please check in. I will be sharing the links in my social media as well as Indic Academy's social media. You can search for Indic Academy's website and you'll get to know about all the things that the Indic Academy is doing, the various grants it does, the various workshops it gives, in the multiple ways in which it encourages people to take part in this process of Indic Renaissance. And finally, I would like to request if any one of you who has attended the whole webinar and who is interested in writing a proper report on it, documenting it, then please do so. Indic Today will be pleased to publish it. And you can contact them. You can go to the Indic Today website. You will have their editor's email and you can send it to them and they'll be happy to publish it. And once again, thank you for a wonderful morning. I think it's going to be there in my mind for a long, long time. I hope you all found it as fruitful as I did. Thank you so much.
Shefali, I have one last announcement.
Yeah.
This afternoon, 4:30, we have a legacy partnership series webinar with Michel Denino. Please do check our social media to get the link, and please do join us at 4:30. And tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., we are starting a month-long festival, global festival of yoga. We have a vertical called Indica Yoga. So we are doing a 1-month-long festival with more than 90 speakers for 30 days. Every day we'll have 3 sessions. Again, please visit indicayoga.com and register. And we are also going to release, last year we started our Center for Soft Power. Vijayaka is the director. She conceptualized, created, and produced this amazing video last year celebrating yoga, dance by Rukmini Vijay Kumar. And this year also we are doing the same thing. This also will be released as of now. The editing is going on. The shooting was going on till yesterday. You saw some snippets of it on social media. And we'll be releasing that tomorrow at 7 a.m. So do log in. And we'll be releasing that video and our festival for yoga will be started. Thank you so much.
Can I just say one word? Our last year's video was called Yoga Niyoga. It's available on the internet. And this year, what we are doing is we are looking at the personification of the Shakti and how female energy is also what yoga does. So it's a completely different concept, because normally when we say yoga, people are only thinking about Hatha Yoga and asanas. Of course, there will be a couple of asanas too. So we look forward to all of you promoting it in your areas, in your groups, etc. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.